Well, ladies and gentlemen, 2018 has come and gone, and I sure have played a good number of games that year. Games that came out in 2018 and games I've played for the first time in 2018. And so this best of video will be dedicated to games new and old as I reveal to you my top picks for various categories that I just made up completely on the spot. So sit back, relax, and listen to me prattle on about games I didn't even bother playing on this channel yet. And so let's begin with Best Main Character of 2018. No nominees because, oh, why fake build-up? In third place, we have Peter Parker from Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4. I really gotta say, 2018 was a pretty good year for Spider-Man. First with this game, and then Into the Spider-Verse, which, by the way, was really friggin' awesome. And it's pretty fitting that the Spider-Verse costume is in Spider-Man PS4 if you download the Silver Lining DLC. Along with the fact that you can find the original costume made for Spider-Man PS4 in the background in the middle of Spider-Verse. And I don't think it would be too bold of a statement to say that PS4 Peter Parker would definitely fit in Spider-Verse 2 if that's already in the works right now. And if they're planning to use more Peter Parkers / Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Pigs, Spider-Mechas, whichever spiders are out there, even the spiders that assemble to look like Peter Parker. I say this because Peter Parker in the PS4 game is a very engaging character. The way he's written can appeal to both people new to the Spider-Man series and longtime fans. It also helps that this Peter Parker has several years of being Spider-Man under his belt already, and he has a solid enough grasp of balancing between the man and the mask, yet he still has enough room to grow over the course of the game. Peter is still relatable in the aspect of the everyday problems that we normal people face, but now he has enough experience to help him make better decisions. Well, not all of the time, because he gets evicted from his apartment because it is written law that something bad must happen to Peter Parker every 24 hours. Regardless, Yuri Lowenthal puts in a great performance as Peter Parker, even if some of his deliveries end up making me think more of Yosuke Hanamura being the one under the suit, which would make for a pretty interesting game. Persona 4, swinging all day. But Yuri keeps a good balance between the intellectual, emotional side of Peter Parker and the wisecracking heroics of Spider-Man, making them both feel like one and the same instead of separate identities. I would say more, but I want to keep spoilers as minimal as possible, so if you want to see more of what I think is a fresh take of Peter Parker, go play Spider-Man on the PS4. Now, get it. Pay for it. With your money. Right now. Do it. In second place, we have Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. I gotta be honest here, I really wasn't expecting a lot from Arthur when I first started playing Red Dead Redemption 2. But the further I went on into the game's story and seeing Arthur's relationships with not just the gang, but with other people outside of it, it really started to make me connect with him a bit more. Though I think what sealed the deal for me on whether I liked Arthur or not was this.
Why ain't you never married? Chicken!
This is a welcome change of pace, because let me tell you, I am sick and tired of all of these different characters in big AAA games that are gruff, tough, and they can't have any joy in their lives whatsoever. I'll save any further thoughts about Arthur later on because, let's face it, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to pop up a lot on here. And my pick for best main character is the Dragon of Dojima, Kazuma Kiryu. Now, I will admit there is a lot of bias at play here, considering I've played everything from Yakuza 0 up to Kiwami 2 on the PS4, and Kiryu has proven himself to be a very likable character and one of the biggest badasses I have ever played as in a video game. But I will be talking about Kiryu's character in Yakuza 6, since, well, Kiwami 2 is a remake of 2, 6 is the last game chronologically, and besides, I haven't even finished Kiwami 2 at the time of this recording, so it wouldn't really be fair within my rules. Even with that said, it doesn't even matter that much because Kiryu's character has pretty much been the same since Yakuza 0 throughout the entire series, and really hasn't needed to change. Because Kiryu at his core is a caring man who will stand up for the weak and protect his friends and family from the corrupt and the evil. Though Kiryu's limits are tested in Yakuza 6 when he has to deal with the after effects of what has happened during his stay in prison, with Haruka ending up in a coma, finding out that she has a son, and then having to take care of that cute, adorable little infant while trying to uncover why Haruka was attacked, and everything else connected to it, just wrapping Kiryu up in a big conflict that really shakes Kamurocho to its core. And not just Kamurocho, but Kiryu himself, where he starts to test thoughts that he really wouldn't have all the way back in Yakuza 0. At the end of the day, Kiryu still proves himself to be the same ex-Yakuza badass we all know him to be, who also happens to get in some very wacky situations, and we love him for it. But what would a main character be without their leading cast? Let's move on to Best Supporting. Honorable mention to Red Dead Redemption 2. Not that the supporting cast were horribly written or anything like that, I just wasn't that invested into them considering that the game is a prequel, and in considering the nature of Red Dead Redemption 2, anybody could die at any time, so I didn't want to invest myself too much in case they ended up getting axed and just killed a lot of fun for me. Oh yeah, and Dutch, I have a plan, and I need money. Anyway, with that out of the way, third place goes to Deltarune. Deltarune, the game that came right out of nowhere and started up the whole Undertale train all over again. Except, now it's called Deltarune. Though I think a lot of people were not expecting to have Toriel be the first character you talk to in the game. And a bunch of other characters from Undertale reappear, but now with some new characters thrown in, just to really confuse people on where exactly Deltarune sits within the universe of Undertale. Though for this, I'm talking more about the characters you encounter in the Dark World along with Susie and Rousei. Susie and Rousei serve the roles they're supposed to have, with Rousei being the very kind, gentle, pacifist side, while Susie is, rude girl, or, Barney's daughter. And then the enemies and other characters important to the story come about, and they're pretty much as charming as the ones you meet in Undertale. They do follow the same trend with a big chunk of characters being quirky, funny, etc. And then the select few who are pretty creepy, that have plenty of things about them to probably make a game theory video about, and then horribly botch it. Though with Deltarune appearing again later on, I'll talk more about the characters when we get there. Don't worry, you'll know when. Coming up in second place is Yakuza 6. Now, there are some decisions in Yakuza 6 that honestly would have put it at third place and Deltarune at second. The most criminal crime of all, that being Goro Majima is only in the story for 5 minutes, which... So suffice to say, if you're a fan of Majima, Saejima, Akiyama, Date, or any of those characters, you're really not going to see them much in this story. Some of them even less than 5 minutes, I think. But what elevates Yakuza 6 to second place are the appearances of Beat Takeshi and the New Japan Pro Wrestlers. Yes, I am including the side story of New Japan into this. What other game series is there that you can say, yeah, I just got into a fight with Kazuchika Okada while his theme song was playing, and we just learned his tragic backstory that was made up specifically for this game? Oh yeah, and Tetsuya Naito's about to shoot Toru Yano with a gun. A gun! There's no tranquilo in this man right now! The new characters in the main story do their jobs just fine, but the guy who easily steals the show is Beat Takeshi. I can't say too much about him because I really don't want to give away anything having to do with his character, but considering Takeshi's previous history with video games, it is surprising to see him have a role in Yakuza 6. And yes, I did make most Extreme Elimination Challenge jokes while playing the game. Everyone probably did make most Extreme Elimination Challenge jokes while playing Yakuza 6. And first place for Best Supporting goes to Spider-Man PS4. Again, like with Beat Takeshi, there's not too much I can say without giving away a bunch of the game's details that hasn't been released in trailers. But Spider-Man PS4 takes first place because of the long history of the characters involved in the story. There are decades upon decades of comic book storylines, continuities, all of that good stuff that Insomniac Games had to boil down to its pure essence and tried to contain it within the story of the game. And I say they succeeded. Again, not much else to say other than buy the game. Play it. Play it. And now it's time for the characters we love to hate. Biggest assholes. Third biggest asshole in my 2018, Jasper Bad Jr. from No More Heroes 2. Goody gumdrops, Jasper Bad Jr. I would have more to say about you if the internet didn't already put you through the ringer. But yeah, most of the critiques people have about Jasper, I share. His design's pretty Yuri Lowenthal, while he was great as Spider-Man, yeah, oh man. Him as Jasper Bad makes me want to wring his neck. And the most laughable part, which, yeah, it makes sense when you really think about it, is that he wants revenge just because he killed his 3 generic bald family members in the first game, in a side mission, where they had little to no fanfare for their appearance. So yeah, Jasper sucks. Moving on. In second place, we have good old Micah Bell from Red Dead Redemption 2. Micah. But I have the most vitriol and venom for the winner for biggest asshole of 2018, Tsuneo Iwami, Yakuza 6. AKA the evil fusion of Satoru Iwata and Hideo Kojima. Yakuza 6 pretty much throws everything they can at you to make sure you hate this guy and everything he represents, and, well, it may be cheap heat, but it is heat that ended up working on me, and so that's why this guy is number 1, because, god damn it, everything he did in this game makes me want to just shove his face right into a meat grinder, but that would be way too kind for him. And the thing that really makes Tsuneo suck a hard one is the fact that he's doing all the things he's doing in this game because Daddy won't let me into the Yakuza. Papa, I want to be a Yakuza. You know, it's a real damn shame that Majima and Saejima are in jail for pretty much the entire story, because, God almighty, I would have loved to see Majima get his hands on this little without the use of a mod. And, you know, grab a knife, stab Tsuneo a couple times. Don't worry, it'll be during gameplay, so the will still be alive at the end of it, and Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima would still have not killed anybody. Let's switch things up a bit with a look at Best Visuals. At number 3, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, before anyone jumps down my throat about this, because a lot of people have been praising Red Dead Redemption 2 endlessly in all aspects, yes, the game is freaking gorgeous. The landscape, the plains, the forests, the mountains, all look wonderful. The reason why it's number 3, though, is because it had a smaller hill to climb compared to the top 2. So the fact that it's number 3 is not indicative of its overall quality. It's just, as far as what impressed me more in 2018, this was up there, but not quite. Even so, the character models look fantastic, the horses are nicely detailed, there's little touches in the scenery whenever it's raining, like when it rains and you're stepping in mud, the rain will fill up your footsteps and make small puddles. That is pretty nice attention to detail. I'm just saying that the top 2 impressed me more with what they had to deal with. To better explain that, my second place is Spider-Man for the suits. The suits alone are freaking amazing. All the little nuances to them, whether they're armor, cloth, whether the eyes glow at night or not, it all looks so good, and it makes all the suits that are in Spider-Man just so wonderful to look at in motion, and in cutscenes too. And while you don't get a lot of the natural beauty that you see in Red Dead Redemption 2, New York City looks freaking phenomenal in Spider-Man. You don't really see a lot of buildings repeat themselves over and over again. It feels like whenever you're in a specific district, that you're not seeing the same building twice. While all the facial animations aren't exactly perfect, they definitely invoke the characters they're supposed to represent. Like how Peter Parker looks like what do you think Peter Parker would look like, or Mary Jane, or Aunt May, or Wilson Fisk. Combine all these with a lighting system, which I don't know if I can call it a system, but the way they use the lighting in Spider-Man really brings out both the characters and the suits in all of the cutscenes. It is so good to look at. But even so, Spider-Man didn't have to deal with the challenge that Arc System Works had to, with the #1 best visually looking game of the year. That's kind of a mouthful. Dragon Ball FighterZ. As fun as the gameplay in Dragon Ball FighterZ is, and it really is a fun game to play, it would not have meant as much to a lot of the Dragon Ball fans if the game did not look good. Good lord, the anarchy that would ensue if the game did not look good. But not only does Dragon Ball FighterZ look amazing, it has that rare quality that a lot of anime games wish they could have, where you could almost take a screenshot of any moment and have people think just for 1 second that is from an actual anime still. From the characters themselves to the light from the energy blast and how it reflects off the character models, god damn, Arc Systems knocked it out of the park with the looks of Dragon Ball FighterZ. The only minor critique I would have is just that the stages don't look too exciting, but they're not really supposed to be because you're supposed to keep your eyes on the action anyway. But hopefully you'll understand what I meant earlier when I said Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't have as much of a hill to climb compared to Spider-Man and Dragon Ball FighterZ.
One more down.
3 to go.
Before we get to the last 2 categories, let's take a moment to appreciate 3 special boss fights I've had the privilege to go up against in 2018. Number 3 is Margaret from No More Heroes 2 Desperate Struggle. Yes, that means I've played No More Heroes 2 for the first time in 2018, thanks partially to a certain skull cap wearing muscle man. I found myself really enjoying the game, but if I had to pick a favorite boss fight that stood out a lot to me, it's Margaret. Now, it's not that I was completely blind going to Margaret's boss fight, but the game itself acknowledges what this fight would be best remembered for, and a strong factor for the other 2 boss fights.
You know this song?
Nope.
How tragic. Then let me teach you.
Margaret's theme song stands out amongst the other boss themes, and it's not hard to see why. The lyrics, for not only explaining aspects of Margaret, but also taking the time to diss Travis for his otaku ways, bravado, and his goal of revenge. Best part? Travis admits that he really likes the song, and Travis shows his respect for Margaret by memorizing it before he moves on to the next battle. The fight itself is not too difficult once you know how to keep Margaret from getting her distance, but any fan of this boss fight knows exactly why they love it. Number 2 is Jevil from Deltarune. Ah yes, the secret boss fight that will inevitably have a lot of lore and theories made about him as time goes on. But for me though, a welcome challenge. You have to go out of your way to accomplish a few tasks that will grant you access to the room that he's in. And once he knows you're there, he decides to cut loose. While this difficulty is not rage quit worthy, it still keeps you on your toes while you try to get a feel for his patterns. Accompanying this are his voice clips proclaiming his fondness for chaos, scythe transformation, and Kartsu themed attacks, because he's both the Jester and the Joker. No, not that one. Not him either. I mean the same Joker you see in a normal deck of cards. Little things that start building the world of Deltarune and all that entails, as well as the characters you see within this first chapter. What's also unique about him is that not only do you get a special item for defeating him, it changes whether you decide to beat the crap out of him or wear him out, even if it has no impact on the story. Time will tell when the next chapters are released whether Jevil will come back or not, but until then, let's keep the world spinning. Before I reveal my favorite boss fight of 2018, let me preface this by saying that I love the theme songs for Jevil and Margaret, but as great as they are, they did not tiger drop my soul as hard as the theme song for my number one boss fight. Ladies and gentlemen, my number one favorite boss fight for 2018 is the third and final battle with Takumi Someya in Yakuza 6. Now, I hope you can excuse me for getting a bit more analytical than I intend to for a quicker list like this, but what I want to say applies to Jevil, Margaret, any boss fight with a theme that you cannot get enough of. The music can make or break a boss fight, just as much as the gameplay, but it takes a song that really touches a certain part of you to elevate a boss fight. Much like with Face Shinsuke Nakamura, when the violin drops, this boss fight song, Destiny, cranks the emotion to 11. God damn, there's so much power whenever the violin kicks in. The context of the fight itself is enough to really make you feel curious reluctance to fight Someya, but Destiny drills that feeling deep into your soul. Because the fight itself, you can make it whatever you want it to be, honestly. Besides an awesome QTE with some nice choreography, I love this boss fight for this song. I would even go as far as to call it my favorite boss theme ever. That's not putting down any of the other heavy hitters like Two Dragons or Pledge of Demon in the Yakuza series, or any others I really enjoy. But this is a beautiful, beautiful track. You don't even have to see the fight to feel the emotions coming from the strings of the violin, along with the bombastic drums and guitars, to tell you that you cannot avoid this fight, and you cannot hold back. It's a great song that puts this boss fight head and shoulders above the final boss fight in Yakuza 6. We're almost done here, but let's get through one more important category, Best Story. The order may surprise you, but I have my reason. Number 3 is WWE 2K19. Yes, you heard me right. I really enjoyed WWE 2K19's story from a series that way too many people bemoan about for not being No Mercy. Yes, we should have an alternative, and yes, you've ran that critique into the ground. I placed WWE 2K19 here because it's the first game in a while that told a story with ups and downs along with a couple twists. The voice acting from Manny Favorino as Cole Quinn and AJ Hirsch as your created wrestler are top-notch performances. The story explores the indie scene for a little while, which is a breath of fresh air. The two biggest problems are the things available to do for when the actual story ends, and, well, did they get Randy Orton to do a John Cena impression? Because this is not John Cena.
Take it easy, partner. I'm not out here for a fight. At least not yet.
Even with those issues, I'm hoping 2K does a story like this again for 2K20 and try to go bigger than what it is here. Because they have the potential now to really give us a great wrestling game story, and I really hope they don't mess it up. Number 2 is Deltarune. Really, it's because only the first chapter was released last year. It sets everything up nicely and hooks people in for more chapters in the future, but I can't really say it has the best story when it's not fully complete yet. Still, the first chapter delivered in a bunch of ways with the same deconstructive style that was seen in Undertale. But now, it's how within the game's world that your choices as far as personalizing the game experience to you, specifically, doesn't matter. I am curious to see how far Toby Fox goes with this and whether he includes any of the characters with bigger roles like Lancer in the following chapters. Chances say yes, but you never know. Basically, if you loved Undertale, you will love Deltarune's story just as much with the same heart, humor, and emotion as before. And best story goes to Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, now it finally won something. Expanding upon what I vaguely mentioned earlier about Arthur, Red Dead 2 has a story that would fit in any Western, with the drama and stakes ramping up at a steady pace. It takes the time to cool down and throw in a little humor to offset the violence and insanity that you are partaking in. I am including the side quests when I say this, but the main story really knows how to bring out a great performance from its cast. With Roger Clark as Arthur, Robert Weetoff returning as John Marston, along with the other Vanderlyn gang members from the first game and the extended cast, you end up getting invested in the fates of the main ensemble. Though the fact this is a prequel does give away a few end results, you still get to see a different side of characters encountered in 1 and see what life was like for them. And with your morality altering how the story progresses, it does give you enough of a choice for the story and the world to see you how you choose. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the moment is finally here. My game of the year. Normally I wouldn't do something like this in the middle of the video or near the end of the video before it officially ends, but this is something I've really wanted to talk about for a while, and it's probably the best explanation I can give as to why sometimes I'll start having a bit of activity and then I start dropping out. And while I played a bunch of games in 2018, part of my 2018 was about my mental health, and I have been taking medication to deal with anxiety among other issues I've been having. And I don't know if it's a side effect of the medication or something that I've just been feeling off and on throughout my creative process, if you can call it a process and not something else. Really, it's just I have trouble articulating on what I want to say sometimes, and right now is no exception, because I have a habit of trying to make myself as clear as possible while being very unclear. Part of what I feel when I try to start making videos and recording for them is when I go on Twitter and then I see a bunch of different YouTube people that I follow, like Mad McMuscles, Wooly, Peanut Butter Gamer, different YouTubers like them, and just seeing the work and the passion that they have for what they do. And it's not that I don't think I can do it, but I end up feeling a lot of demotivation and just thinking things like, well, this person already said what needed to be said about this topic or whatever. What can I really offer as another perspective? Or how can I make this my own when I feel like I can't really put a different spin on something? And a lot of it is more doubts about my self-confidence, and other parts, just really trying to figure out what I really want to do as far as making videos and trying to express myself creatively and, be able to talk about the things I like, which is mostly video games, but some other things as well. And how I don't really want to end up feeling like I'm copying somebody else, but that's pretty hard to do nowadays when originality is pretty much dead, and all you really can do is just try to talk about what yeah, it's difficult. I'll have these ideas where hey, here, kitty, you're gonna be part of this video now. There are times where I want to try and do something, and I just feel like I'm not sure if I can really do it well enough. Come on, kitty. I know, Daddy tries to put in a lot of hard work, but life is hard. Alright, I'll let you go. She looked like she was about to claw my face off. Behind me, human! So, here's to a better effort from me in the future for 2019 and beyond. And hopefully I can get to know some people a little bit better among other things. And, well, this is probably not going to come up be uploaded in January, but what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you. Also, Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year, do not fight me about this.